This is our 20th annual convention. The first convention was held in 1999, and there was about 150 people at that convention because it wasn't this large organization of Oxford House. Every year since then, we've had an annual convention and get-together for the purpose of learning more about what we do and teaching others about what we do, and kind of as a promotional thing for state agencies and treatment providers.
All right, let's do this.
Everybody go like this, but that way.
The first thing is just show up, suit up and show up, be an example to the delegates that are coming from your area because they are watching. In fact, delegates from other areas are watching you and they may not know who you are, but everybody's watching, so be that example. There's a reason why we are sitting in this room, because of what we did while we lived in a house, while we were delegates. We got involved, we stepped up into leadership, we were an example to our peers in our particular areas, and the position came open to be part of the staff, and we were chosen for that. Don't get confused, just because we carry the moniker of staff does not mean that we're privileged in any way by being here. It's not about us. This convention isn't for us. It is a time for us to come together and fellowship. It's nice, it's like a big family reunion, but that's just icing on the cake. That's just kind of the bonus. What this convention is really about is about that person that just moved into the house a few months ago and has a little bit of a spark, and the chapter or their house or the state noticed it and decided to use some of their fundraising money to send them to the World Convention so that they can learn more about what it means to be a part of Oxford House at this convention. And they can catch that little spark and turn it into a huge flame and take it back to their area and create a fire.
Okay.
What's going on, bro? What's up, brother?
Good to see you, man.
Good, man. How was your flight? Or how was your?
We drove.
How was the trip?
Too old for the trip.
I think one of the problems with addiction is that some of us draw the short straw. About 10% of the folks who drink alcohol will become alcoholics. Depending on the drug, only a small percentage of the people who use a particular drug will become hooked. But some of us who, for genetic reasons or chemical imbalance reasons or whatever, will definitely become hooked if we use alcohol. For me as an alcoholic and as a young alcoholic, it was very deceptive. I didn't have a drink until I went to college. As a matter of fact, I was very much approved in the small high school I went to with my 23 fellow classmates. There was only less than 100 in the high school. And off I went to college and drank, and right away, drinking increased my self-confidence. And over the years, as a young man, I began to be able to drink more than most people and still function. Later on, as an old man, when I learned how alcohol works, I realized that it's natural for alcoholics to increase their tolerance for alcohol. You can drink more and more without throwing up or without going to sleep or without falling down. But the sad thing about tolerance is it's like a bell curve. You know, the mountain that goes up, then comes down. And so as time goes by, less and less alcohol causes more and more dysfunction. And none of the alcohol provides the great joy and the great sense of confidence, the euphoria that it did in the early days. One of the characteristics we have as human beings, though, is memory. And we tend as human beings to remember good things and forget bad things. If you have a toothache and you go to the dentist and the dentist fills the tooth so it doesn't ache anymore, the next day you probably don't remember how annoying the toothache was. And so if you're an alcoholic, you're one of those folks who remembers the euphoria, but you don't remember the hangover, the withdrawal, the bad sort of stuff, the throwing up and having to clean up the barf on the seat of the car. You don't remember that. Neither do you remember the fact that you may have become abusive. Neither do you remember the fact you may have had a barroom fight. I once bit off the end of an ear of a guy because he was bigger than me, but I figured I could fight dirty because I was small. Recovery is hard. It's hard because we remember good stuff, we forget bad stuff. And if I were young today and felt I was having a problem with alcohol, and I would know that I had a problem by stopping, and if it bothered me to stay stopped, then I would probably see if I could stop and get into an Oxford House. And the reason I would want to get into an Oxford House is figure out what those people did wrong in that Oxford House, those drunks and druggies, so I could become a successful alcoholic or a successful drug addict by learning how those stupid people messed up. And if I did that and I got into a house, the chances are those stupid people would suck me into their way of thinking. They would say reasonable things like, we treat everybody equally in this house. They would say we all pay an equal share of expenses. Nobody has to pay more than others. And the reason we all pay the same is we want a democracy where one vote is worth another vote within the house. And then they would say we have a weekly business meeting where we decide things like, how are we going to use some of the extra money we have? Are we going to buy a bigger television? Are we going to get more cable channels? Are we going to buy a gas grill so we can have a barbecue and invite the women's house over? And they discuss all this following something called Robert's Rules of Order, which people have to make a motion and they have to second it and all that kind of shit. And I find that as a newcomer, I might get sucked into that. And if I get sucked into that, I may also begin to notice that some of these people had terrible lives as drunks and druggies. And that I could end up having a terrible life unless I figured out some way to have a good time without booze and drugs. And slowly but surely, I'm apt to figure that out. If I did, I might become president.
I won't.
Hey, just for today, I can say that I am gluten-free.
Hallelujah!
Today, I want to tell y'all people that prehistoric paranoia is not by choice. And also, I want to thank all of y'all because I can't see you. And I got little arms so I can't hug you. But you are my family. That's all I got. Thank you. Have a great day.
Every day I'm shuffling. Every day I'm shuffling. I'm shuffling. So I got a story to tell. Listen, I stay victorious, make the sign of the cross. I'm here to be the voice for every friend I've ever lost. Many plans I put together my hands. I've never been ashamed to tell you the person I am. When it comes to doing drugs, I've never been emotional. Hold up, let me tell you about the places that they took me. I had a shot, but it's been possibly a week, and I'm so deep in a psychosis.
Please hang up and try again.